added on today's podcast. I had me go through my cell phone, I should say, and just a little 15-minute kind of podcast to go through my 2020 and all that kind of stuff. So, give a brief glimpse of, all the things that I've learnt and, all the growth in that and, to kind of celebrate a good year, I guess, best way to explain it. And also, too, guys, if you want to help to support the podcast that extra little bit, just go to patreon.com/studio mindfulness. And also, too, I am having 30% off my re-engineer your mindset program with one-on-ones. So head over to my website. I'll link and all that kind of stuff down below and all that kind of stuff. But other than that, hope you enjoyed today's episode and enjoy your New Year's too. All right, cheers, guys.
On today's podcast, it's going to be, guess me, talking about 2020 and the year that was, and going through, I guess, bits and pieces that I've, gone through the year and so forth and all that. I did a video like this last year, but I posted on Instagram. This is going to be posted all on my podcast sites. So, instead of breaking up the two, you can go back to it and make it a bit easier. But yeah, so, I guess what everyone else says is, what a year. And you know what? It should be something that we say pretty much every year kind of thing. And everyone says it this year because of the negative things that have happened in the world, especially with COVID, and a whole bunch of other things, which I want to go into detail a little bit about in my lessons through those things. But yeah, you put things in the context. It's like, this year's been a huge year for growth, especially for me, and it was the same with 2019. Like, I had a lot of things that didn't go my way in 2019. I had, started off the year with a breakup, and then that was, that was very dragged. I guess I wouldn't say dragged out, but it reappeared again, and I had to go figure out through more stuff through that. But out of that situation, it kind of taught me, self-love, self-worthiness, put me on this road, what I'm doing right now, which has been such a blessing in disguise. And at the time, I probably didn't even think of it like that. It was, you're quite heartbroken, quite gutted, but but in saying that, I'm so fucking grateful for it, what happened. Excuse my French there. But yeah, and then also too, I had, 3 deaths that year, had 3 funerals 1 week after another, which that was quite insane. And then out of those things, it kind of taught me, it's like, I don't want to die with regret. And, a bunch of other things that, if I'm going to do something, I've got to do it. It's like, what if? I don't want to get to my deathbed and be like, what if I decided to do that? What if I decided to take that chance? And, a whole bunch of other things. And that's what 2020 has really been for me. It's like, I guess overcoming those limiting beliefs and so forth. So like the start of 2020 was, I was trying to focus a lot on the podcast stuff, which was great. And I was trying to figure out what kind of coach that I wanted to be. So I dabbled in a bunch of other, bunch of things that I thought I could do and that, but that's something that came towards the end of the year. So at the start, it's like I started down, I had, did New Year's, and then I think that weekend I went to Dubai, and straight away it's like, boom, went down by myself camping, first ever time doing something like that, which was actually probably the best thing I could have done for setting up the year. It's just like, spending time with yourself, plan out what you want and a bunch of other things. And to be straight up, a lot of things I planned out didn't even happen. But in saying that, those plans, directed me to where I wanted to go, what, started to bring me more fulfillment. And some of those things are still plans for, next year, maybe the year after, and blah, 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 and so forth. But then taking that time, it gave me a direction where to go. So I think that's quite important. Excuse me a sec, grab a drink. It's probably not going to sound too good on the audio, but anyway. So, and yeah, and it, those first couple months, first really, good podcasts, especially with PJ, I had Ashley, I had Jack, I'm trying to think of a couple more, Graham. And so if I missed you, especially in those first 3 months, that, it really kicked off and, started really networking with people outside my friend group, especially in those first couple months. It's like, guess with meeting a bunch of people, through, I guess, work. I met Graham through there, through cutting his hair, which is pretty funny. And, he's been, great. And that, bounced some ideas, especially towards the beginning of the year. And that, and seeing some of the things he's accomplished now is quite cool from the background. And yeah, it's been quite, that first couple of months kind of the standstill. And then, I guess March came around and then, the whole COVID thing happened. And man, didn't have some kind of big lessons in that. So I guess I really learned how harsh the internet can be, with especially with opinions, ideas, if you don't believe with them, and how many, how guess lack of, communication skills are through, Facebook, Instagram and all that, through just throwing words at each other. And there's no context, no meaning. There's so many things taken out of, I took out of context with people, and, getting in stupid little debates, which now I'm like, if someone's continuing on, I'm like, I don't really care. That's your opinion. And this is like, I have mine. If you want to further discuss things, just do it in person, or, through a Zoom call, so we can see each other face to face and have an actual human conversation. And I think that's like kind of one of the things that I guess COVID has proved to us, is how much, we do value human connection and so many other things and that. But yeah, I didn't want to talk too much about the world situations and that, but I'll bring it up back here and there. But it was just crazy. There's so many lessons through that. So the way people communicate, the way we hang on to our belief systems and that. Because I remember very start of COVID, I was very worried about it, and I started doing research in that, and I realized it wasn't as bad as what it is, kind of thing. And that's just from the stuff that I've come across. But in saying that, then there's a bunch of other things out there I've come across that say it's bad and blah blah blah. And it's like just sat in the middle and like, it is what it is, kind of thing. And yeah, and then through COVID, it's created so many opportunities for connecting with a whole bunch of people. Did my first interstate podcast with Blake, which that was, a phenomenal podcast. It was great. And because it allowed me to utilize Zoom and that, because I was struggling to get people, because people didn't want to come and do it in person. So I'm like, sweet, Zoom. And a bunch of other things. So that was so cool to, navigate, making like, I guess, different connections through interstate, heaps in Victoria and a bunch of other places. And it's so crazy. Just trying to think. And then also the opportunity came up to step up into a leadership role at Conscious Community, which, helped behind the scenes stuff, which, I started going at the beginning of this year, which I should have mentioned that, which was such a, it was cool because it was get to connecting with like-minded people at a group, in a group setting, which is the first time something that I've been to, because I've been to previously, like the last couple of 2019, 2018, I've been to a couple of business seminars, but then you didn't really network with people there, you didn't really connect in with people, and then go to an event and actually connect in with like-minded people and talk about the things they do and all that, and created some fantastic friendships out of it. Did a few people's coaching courses out of it, which has all been fucking amazing and opened a whole new world up to me. And doing through people's courses and that's kind of allowed me, is like, okay, what type of coach that I want to be, how I want to structure my courses, by witnessing how they go through their courses and that. And, also to how people public speak there too, and seeing what type of, what I resonate with and what I don't want to do on stage and so forth. And then just learn, because that's one of the best ways that I've learned, is just through observing people and doing their thing, and then taking the bits that work for me and then creating my own thing out of that. So that's like, I guess, how one day I gained the confidence to just do a random process. But I'll talk to that because that was later in the year. So And yeah, and then at the beginning of the year, I set the intentions to move to the sunny coast of Byron, and then I guess because it's back forward a bit, that in February I actually did get the opportunity to move to Byron. I always said almost got the opportunity, I should say, but it didn't happen. So, and I went down there for the job interview, and all they could offer me is holiday work. So it was like 1 day a week, maybe, if I was lucky. And like I could not afford that at all. And then, you know, as that kind of happened, I started applying for jobs at Sunny Coast, and then COVID happened, and no. So then I set the intention to go up there to Sunny Coast. Then I went up there a couple of times through the year, and I was like, okay, I'm just got to do it. Had so many things line up, the stars, I guess the best way to say it, to line up to do it. And I just said, the only thing I really have to do to get up there is, you know, land the job. So I guess fast forward till about October, it's like I started handing out resumes and that, and then landed, you know, a job up there, which is awesome, which allowed me to move up there, which is the most, you know, been the best thing I've ever done for myself, the move up to the sunny coast. So many opportunities have appeared, people are awesome up there, and a bunch of other things. So, have another drink. But yeah, so coming the back end of the year, this is, you know, trying to make this podcast not too long so I'm not rambling, is that this is when a lot of my growth happened. I did especially over the last couple, I guess, last 2 months of the year was in proper say. Because then I kind of found out what type of coach I wanted to be. A mindset coach, was 100% down with that. I played with that idea a lot. So like, you know, helping people restructure their mindset, re-engineer, create different stories that you tell yourself, and a bunch of other things, and, you know, help people to process through trauma. Because, you know, with that, which I think that's most important, and, you know, our mindset is, you know, the thing that kind of hangs on to things. So for kind of butchered a bit there, for rambling on for a little bit. But yeah, and then one weekend I had 2 breakthroughs in 2 days. Did an event with Chrissy and Rory, that was insane. I guess my ego was so tied up with hanging on to what I was hanging on to that, you know, I wasn't trying to express myself through that, and we were going through, I guess, a session of primal screaming, and I was not, you know, was not having a bar of it. Didn't want to, you know, body was saying not doing it, and then finally had that breakthrough, and I was like, holy crap, the confidence just sky through. And then the next day, trying to process of everything that's happened, went through another breakthrough with that conscious community with Mary and Jonathan. I think I said the names right. And that was such a, you know, to finally, you know, with those 2 days, the first time I cried since breaking up with my girlfriend. And, you know, to be able to release that emotion and trauma, and, you know, to feel a bit lighter and more energetic and more accepting of, you know, of love, I should say. So I had a new level of self-love for myself, which is awesome. And then I should backtrack a little bit, because I did my first public speaking event, I think it was July. And yeah, that was awesome to, you know, being that shy kid, and, you know, always been told you're quiet, you know, and don't say too much, and then to be able to, you know, take that step up and talk in front of people, which I kind of just, you know, was nervous, and, you know, with doing podcasts and doing little videos, and that has helped heaps to, you know, build the skill set to be able to do that. Now it's like time to take that next step in doing it in front of people and in a crowd, and it was just a pretty cool experience. And then done that a number of times through the year. I think I did about 4 this year, only a little, like 5-minute ones, which was, you know, it creates that stepping stone. And yeah, and then come to the end of the year, went to Jessica's networking event or Christmas thing, and took which I've explained this story on Facebook, on a Facebook Live. I think I've shared it on Instagram and that. But to recap, it's like, I remember I was sitting there talking to someone, and I was going through all the stuff that I do and that. And she goes, oh yeah, we should, you know, go up and do a process or something, one each. And I was like, and my face just dropped. And the night before, I did a honouring speech in front of 40, I think it was about 40 people. And here I am doing something that I've been doing all the time, and with people. And then now that I come do it in front of people, it's like, no, I'm not doing that. And then the fast forward towards the end of the night kind of thing, I remember her jumping up and giving me a speech and that, and then I came on stage, and then just to make the long story short, it's like I grabbed the mic and I was like, you know what, I'll just do it now. And I remember Jess saying, it's like, do you know what you're doing? I'm like, yeah, kind of. And then I took someone through a process of recreating the story and helping to rewire their mindset, a little demonstration, and it was quite cool. And I'm like, man, I found the niche, what I want to do. And, to finish the year on that was, fucking insane, which is quite awesome. But yeah, looking back on the last couple of years, it's like the last 2 years, 2019, 2020, has been the most roller coaster years out of every year that I had. And I remember 2018 was quite a stagnant year. And I look back on it and, even though all these, disastrous things happened the last 2 years, but, I'm so grateful for it. So much joy's come out of it, so much growth, I've changed so much as a person. So, each year, has its ups and downs, but it depends what you make of it, kind of thing. So I'm going to wrap the podcast up on there. And that, I hope you enjoyed it. So that's just like a little 15 minute podcast of rambling on about 2020. But yeah, we've got so many things planned for 2021. Start releasing a few of them at the beginning of January and that. But yeah, hope you enjoyed today's episode, guys. And got some really big guests coming in for 2021, especially the start of the year for the podcast, and so much wisdom some of these people have. But yeah, hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Cheers.
All right, cheers for tuning in to today's podcast, guys. I just want to put a quick thing out there. I am currently doing a online one-on-one course for your mental well-being. So you can check that out at mitchellcrocker.com/courses and all the rest of the information there. If you have any questions, make sure you reach out to me on any of my socials or email, which is on the website too. And also to tell me what you thought of the podcast, give us a like, so forth. And if you think this podcast will add some value to a friend, share it with them. But thank you for tuning in today, guys. Very much appreciate it.